Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. So, this morning we're going to be playing some Blue-Green Merfolk in Modern. This list is 72 out of 75 of Merfolk expert Nikachu. Forget his real name. He was the Merfolk wizard that made the finals of one of the GPs last year with Merfolk, so should be pretty easy to find his real name. He has a channel on YouTube, UG MTG, which this list is directly derived from. This list is from his January guide, with the exception of 72 of the 75 cards, with the exception of I have dismembers in the sideboard where he had gut shots. Dismember is a little bit harder on life total, but it does hit a much wider variety of creatures, so I figured Dismember was worth a go for my first foray into Blue-Green Merfolk, and honestly I've never played a bunch of Merfolk, so I watched a bunch of his how-to guides for certain cards, his reasoning for putting certain cards in the decks. So I'm not huge aficionado of Merfolk, just so we get into that before I play the videos. This list is interesting in that from the mono blue list it eschews Curse Catcher and Master of Waves in favor of things like Kamana Speaker, Merfolk Branch Walker, and Water Trap Weaver, which I think he may even run in his mono white blue version now. As far as the mana base, you've got the 4 Botanical Sanctum. I mean, you're pretty much, once you hit 3 mana, you're usually pretty good anyway with Merfolk. You've got 1 Breeding Pool, 4 Islands, 4 Fetches, 4 Mutavaults, and 3 Cavernous Souls. His belief is that Mutavault is the best land in the deck. Almost never shave it, never cut it, so we're running with a full 4. Ether Vial. Ether Vial serves a lot of functions. It can help you cheat on mana. It can allow you to hold up mana from counterspells in post-board games. Allows you to play around counterspells. So, serves a lot of purposes. Generally speaking, some amount of Ether Vials get boarded out in the attrition matchups, because it's basically effectively a mana dork in terms of what this deck's trying to do. And a lot of decks often sideboard out mana dorks in the creature versus removal decks. Kamana Speaker basically is a 2/2 pounder in this deck, as long as you can get an island. Spell Pierce just is a little bit of disruption. Can blunt a removal spell, can throw off math for a storm deck, etc. So, couple is your functional interaction in the main deck. Silvergill Adept, usually a 2-for-1, pretty good for Merfolk. Spreading Seas is a very interesting card. He had a lot of explanation about it. Oftentimes, people overvalue its mana screwing ability, and it's more there to enable Island Walk and as a removal spell for manlands, which I found quite interesting. Harbinger of Tides can be, just a generic 2/2 bear, but also has that disruption element, bouncing tap creatures. And if you pair it with Mara Reedry, you can often tap a creature as you cast it and then bounce it. Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Trident are Merfolk's primary advantages. Not only are they lords, but they also give them Island Walk, which means a lot of times Merfolk can have unblockable creatures, making racing difficult. Merfolk Branch Walker is a 2/1 that basically can grant you about half a card. You're either getting a land in your hand, or you can choose whether to keep the card on top or not. And then Water Top Weaver comes down. This is similar to the function that something like Tidebender, is that the card? Used to be in Standard. It was the 2/2 Merfolk. Would tap down a red or green creature as long as it was in play. But this does it for 1 more mana. It allows you to hit any creature and basically taps them down for an entire turn cycle. They don't get to untap it during their next untap step. And then Mirror Reader is your final lord that has, there are some cute things you can do with it with Harbinger of the Tides. Also, if you get multiple Mirror Readers in play, it's possible to like chain off your entire hand, because you're like untapping 2 islands and just casting your entire hand. I've done that once or twice when in the one paper magic I had Merfolk. It was a pretty sweet interaction. But having another lord in your deck that's can be a little bit slow and clunky sometimes, very important. Allows you to win creature combat. It's kind of a fallback against your other lords dying as well. Then your sideboard, basically a bunch of counterspells and some relics and some dismembers in my case. Submarine Rejection comes in against Lantern, comes in against Affinity, comes in against Tron. Dispel comes in matchups where you're playing against instant speed combo decks, or such as Ad Nauseam, or against like control decks when you're trying to blunt the removal spells. Negate, very functional, can come in against Tron, Valakut. Also comes in against control sometimes. Relic against graveyard decks, you know, things like can come in against Death Shadow, can come in against Dredge, can come in against Groy's Vengeance, etc. And then Dismember, it was the one change I made to the deck because it can functionally kills a lot of creatures. It can blunt some Tarmogoyfs, it can blunt Delve Fatties, it can blunt you can kill Mana Dorks, you can kill most of your humans. So there's a lot of functionality with Dismember, even over a card like Gutshot. So, I'm going to give this a spin in the league. I will be 100% honest, I am not a huge Merfolk fan. I played it once in a local modern tournament, and shortly thereafter sold the deck. I was not impressed by its performance at all. But then again, when I first played Burn, I was not impressed by its performance, and it's grown on me, obviously, over time. So, we'll give it another spin. Hopefully with a little more knowledge, I can do better this particular go-round than I did in my first paper tournament. Plus, the blue-green gives a little bit of dynamic that the version of the deck I was playing didn't have. So, let's see how this goes. Alright. So this is... yeah, we'll keep this one. Lead on Ether Vial. Alright, so... Island Serum Visions can be a couple of different decks. Game 1, if this is Storm, we have it a little rough. If this is Control, it's probably a little rough too. So, alright, Cavern will be nice if this is a Control deck. So, we're just going to run Vial out there and go. Kind of loudly declaring we're Merfolk here, so. I think their next land will probably give us a much... Search for Escanta. Alright, they're either Control or Mono Blue taking turns, probably neither of which is a great matchup. Because Merfolk is a turn slower than most aggro decks. I think gonna lead on Cavern, Merfolk. Play out our Branch Walker this turn. We might be interested in land here. Guess it depends on which card's on top. Spreading Seas. Not really interested in Spreading Seas. And pass. So our opponent is stuck on lands, possibly? Nope, they're just blue-white control. Alright. Snapcaster, Serum Visions, sure. So our opponent is on blue-white control. So we definitely need to establish Mutavault next turn. Well, our blue-white, I guess they could potentially be something along the lines of... It could potentially be something along the lines of Jessica. I guess we'll see. Yes. Water Tap Weaver, not a horrible card here. My question is, am I just supposed to play Water Tap Weaver and... I'm just going to play Water Tap Weaver, tap down their Snapcaster Mage, and avoid adding anything more to the board this turn. Don't think it's worth playing out our Lords from a something like Supreme Verdict standpoint here. If they don't play Supreme Verdict this turn, we'll probably add a Lord to the board, but right now we're threatening 7 damage on board. Alright, they're gonna choose not to add anything more here. Guess we go ahead and violin. Yes. Lord of Atlantis here. Nope. So, go ahead and fire up Mutavault here. I have no reason to play anything else out here. Is our opponent just going to Cryptic? Yeah, I suppose this would have been a reason to not fire up Mutavault immediately. See what our opponent does with his Kanta here. It's an island in their graveyard. It's possible we get verdicted here. Nope. So they either don't have verdict or they're hoping for even more value. Bottom, or bottom top. Alright. Still not adding anything more to the board here. Do I have a reason to go for lethal? We'll fire up Mutavault again here. Is this just lethal? 3. So 3. This is currently 7, 10, 12. By violin a Lord here, they're just dead. Your Vendilion click's now useless, other than you get to see my hand. Everything has Island Walk, so you are dead. Alright, well that was slightly unexpected to get blue-white control in game 1. So, sideboarding for this matchup, pretty easy. Negates in, some number of spreading seas out. Spreading seas, where are you? Just following Nikachu's January sideboarding guide, for those wondering where I'm getting my sideboarding from. I didn't see anything that would make me absolutely want Dispel yet. So we're just going with this. 3 negates in, 3 spreading seas out. Gives us negates and spell pierces to interact with their instant speed stuff. Oftentimes they're playing Supreme Verdict as their sweeper of choice, so we can't count on our counterspells. This hand... I'm presuming this hand's a keep. A little mana heavy, but we have some potential. We don't have Ether Vial, which is our best card against counterspells, but Cavernous Soul is pretty decent against it too, so. So I'll probably just lead on basic island, because I don't want our opponent to have a juicy spreading seas target on too, if that's what they're after. Does a second cavern change that math? Nope. Pass. Might give them some pause if we have something like Spell Pierce or something this morning, but I don't think that'll change the way. Alright, so Cavern on Merfolk. Play out this. Branch Walker, if it reveals a land, it's definitely going to our graveyard. Oh. Never mind. Guess we just get all the lands. See if our opponent wants to path this or something. Not exactly the most inviting thing for them to path exile. Field of Ruins, an interesting one. Sure. So our opponent definitely left in Spreading Seas. Does that change our math here? I think we just attack with Branch Walker, play out the other Branch Walker. It's possible I should have lit on Mutavault here, but I think we're just going to be playing Redrain next turn, so... Okay. Why do I keep tapping for that when I need to attack for green mana? Let's see if something like... See, opponent, I'm not going to give you anything good to... May as well just tag this here. Spell Pierce isn't likely going to trade for anything else of note, unless they have exactly Wrath of God or Day of Judgment here. Now we have 5 power in play. We get to play a Silver Gill Adept next turn, deploy a Mutavault. Opponent just going to go ahead and Supreme Verdict here. Alright. I'm going to start by playing... earth is going on here? Alright, what seems to be the major malfunction? Appears the internet is crapping out. Always love it when this happens. Just OBS screwing up here tends to mean that the internet's about to take a dump. Meanwhile, I'm wasting time on my game clock. Oh, internets, why do you do this at the most annoying time sometimes? Reeling Ragery. Let's try this again. Hey, thanks for the follow. Hopefully my update will let me know here who it was here quickly. Alright, finally get to draw a card. Restoration successful. Play out the Mutavault this turn. Since we're a little flooded here, and pass. Not sure if OBS is just going nuts or if I'm actually getting follows. I love the internet sometimes. This feels like a game we're going to fall 5 mana? What on earth would you be passing here for? Now we're in that awkward spot where it's like I have to play Ragery main phase and it doesn't really do much. So it looks like our opponent might be planning on Field of Ruining. I have a feeling we're getting wrecked this turn regardless, so just play out a Ragery. Fire up the Mutavault, because this is what you expect anyway. Path to Exile on Ragery. Oh, on Mutavault. Interesting. Does our opponent have like Snapcaster Path here? Or just like Supreme Verdict? So it's just like Field of Ruin my... Yep, Field of Ruin my Cavern of Souls. And do you have another play this turn? No. Probably just like land, snap, Supreme Verdict. are they relying on something like Cryptic Command this morning? Interesting. Sideboard. It's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so 11 and only, so 9, we've drawn 9 lands. Kind of pretty insane. I just played this Mutavault, so I have no idea why I'm even activating it. Because I'm a moron like that. See if our opponent has, like, I guess Settle the Wreckage is the card I should be playing around here. Well, that's probably like, why did you even activate your Mutavault, moron? Oh, well. Settle the Wreckage incoming. Or nothing? Interesting. Ah, Sphinx's Revelation. Gotcha. Bounce Reedry. Interesting. Sure. So our opponent's on the mono land destruction near utility lands plan. Getting of the Trials. Yeah, that's gonna be rough. Especially in our hand of all lands. Play out Reedry. Play out Branch Walker here. I guess I could... No, I'm not going to be drawing anything else this turn, so... May as well trap their Flooded Strand, force them to fetch with it if they want to. I think we're past the point of Spell Pierce being effective, so... Play out our island here. And pass. Guess I should have played out Sanctum, but in the end, we have all the mana we could possibly want, so... Yep, and that'll be game. Alright, so blue-white control player doing blue-white control things. Is there any other... Don't think they've shown us anything that makes us change how we want to sideboard. I mean, that game we got pretty horribly flooded. I don't think there's anything I could have done differently. Maybe my sequencing on the lands wasn't correct. Beyond that, I don't think there was anything going on that, yeah, hand seems fine. Once again, obviously we're a little mana heavy. But you can only do so much here. Silver Gills obviously are redraws, so... Opponent leading up potentially Spell Snare here. So I want to blank that if at all possible. Lead on Merfolk here. Start the Silvergill Train. So if you let on Spell Snare, hoping to hit something. Water Tap Weaver, not horrible here, but they do only have a few creatures, so not the most relevant. Go ahead and take this up to 2. Play out a Mutavault. So is there a reason to vial this in? Is there something I would want to draw here that... I don't think so. This is a problem with playing against control, is you don't know the hands that have Supreme Verdict, the hands they don't, etc., etc. So... Is this a Spreading Seas? Looks like it. Sure. This is the annoying thing about blue-white control, is they're able to negate a lot of our advantages of Mutavaults and Caverns. So... their land destruction plan, which is mainly there for Valakut and Tron, is actually good against a whole bunch of other decks randomly. No, I'm not interested in putting that to 3. Kumana Speaker. So I'm in that weird spot where 4 damage per turn isn't really a lot, and Supreme Verdict pretty much beats us anyway. Especially when we're flooding out yet again. I'm going to go ahead and add Speaker to the board. It's not the greatest here, but we need to get more bears in play. Force our opponent to have Supreme Verdict. They really gonna pass something in end of turn? Okay, sure. Guess that seems to indicate they don't have... Seems to indicate they may not have Supreme Verdict here, or a 4th land. Ugh. Well... Blue-white control, ladies and gentlemen, wrecking creature decks since 1993. Nope. I mean, I know we kept a land-heavy hand a couple games in a row, but this is a little on the unfortunate flood outside here. Guessing that's 2 lands. Just hazarding, I guess, considering their lack of hitting land drops. I have no reason to cast this Branch Walker main phase. Go ahead and play out the Delta. Not that it matters immensely here. Getting into the trials, sure. Yep. Activate Ether Vial. Guess I'd like to put in this here Branch Walker. I'm putting that into the graveyard. Guess I should technically have waited till the end step, but effectively the only card they can have here is Path Exile. Yep, and of course they have it. Nope. We'll play another turn or two, but this game's pretty effectively over. This polluted Delta is now a dead card because we now have nothing left to fetch in our deck. So, just everything on the up and up there. Nope. And go ahead and vial this in main phase. Maybe we'll find something here. Alright, Master's not a horrible one. So you're saying maybe there's a slight chance? Got a negate in hand, and yep, Supreme Verdict. Can't say I'm entirely shocked here. Let the beatdowns commence. Spreading the seas. Go after Colonnade here. We really need this draw. Yep, they would have been able to activate Colonnade here too. Which is the scary part. Because they would have been able to hit us for 8 and then 8. And there would have been not much we could have done about it. See if they have something like Vendilion Click in response here. Yep. There's my Lord. Probably not surviving, but there's my Lord. No. Alright, another gate's not bad here. Attack Gideon of the Trials. Let's pass here, play out our final island. Opponent might be trying to represent something here. Yes. Nope. I mean, if our opponent has nothing here, Negate. Negate. Pass. Not a whole lot else going on in our hand. So our opponent is pretty well set up against us with multiple spell snares, detention sphere, supreme verdict. Sure. So it does not look like supreme verdict is in our future. Revelation? Oh. Delightful. Elspeth plus that. There's another master change the equation here. I think we go ahead and clean up Gideon here. Hope our opponent has nothing. So we now have a backdoor chance to win this game. It involves our opponent having no Cryptic Command, no Snapcaster Mage, and no Path Exile. That's like literally our only out. Gideon Jura makes that significantly more difficult. Play out the speaker here. I'm almost 1,000% certain our opponent would have. Yeah, I think we're just dead. Because our opponent pluses Elspeth one more time, ultimates Elspeth, and then we're just dead on board. And Gideon buys them those extra turns they need. Good old blue-white control right out the gates. Snapcaster Supreme Verdict for the complete total utter rubbins. Yeah. They didn't even need the Snapcaster mage there, they just had lethal regardless. Alright. So dedicated control matchups, once again, as we're going through these various linear aggro decks, dedicated control matchups generally are one of the more difficult ways for dedicated aggro decks to handle. Blue-white control, Jeskai control, even to a certain extent, the Jund and Abzan just become the all-kill spell deck, kind of break up these tribal synergies. So that is the one thing, if the meta is heavy with blue-white or blue-white X control, or as we've even run into, like red-white board sweeper control, a lot of these decks, I mean, they can find ways to win, but they're certainly dogs in those matchups. So where something like Burn, one of the reasons Burn is pretty good against a good bit of the field that some of these other linear aggro decks struggle with, is Burn can interact with the deck on the stack as well as creatures. So it's one advantage of Burn over like Merfolk or something like Slivers or Humans, is it attacks on two different axes in terms of like creatures and spells, as opposed to like, I mean, like Humans can disrupt, like they've got meddling mages, Merfolk's got counterspells, Slivers has just got a bunch of weird interactions. Like Diffusion Sliver. So every subgroup has their own. As great as Mutavault is, we can't cast any of our spells, so this is a mulligan. This is another mulligan. Sure. I suspect it is. So the thing with, now I'm not a huge Merfolk player. I'm just playing it because I'm trying to figure out what's the best, like for me personally, the best aggro decks in Modern. I'm kind of doing a series, but I would think it's possible. The thing I would caution you on is, I would probably up the land count to like 22. Are you planning on playing mono blue or the blue-green version? The thing, so I guess I'm just getting, yeah, just for F&M, I'm sure it's, okay, so the thing with Vial is Vial allows you to cheat on mana, it allows you to play your spells out faster. So it's not like Vial is this. So what I would do, just from seeing a little bit of, oh, this is Garroy's Vengeance, this is going to be ugly. What I would do is probably run like 4 Curse Catcher, 4 Kamana Speaker, and like up your land count to like 22. Because a lot of these lands, they cheat on land, or a lot of these decks cheat on lands because you have Aether Vial, like they only run 20 lands. I'd run like 20, depending on the curve. Are you planning on running Master of Waves? So I would probably... I'd play with it a little bit, but I'd probably run... Like, if you're going to take out Vile, I'd replace it with another 1-drop, like maybe some number of... If you're either going to run Curse Catcher or Kamana Speaker, and then also replace it with some number of lands. If you're going to play Master of Waves, I'd probably run... I'd run closer to 23 if I was running... Not sure why they're fetching in response here. Probably run 23 if I was running Master Waves, and I'd probably run 22 if I was just running like 3 drops as my top end of the curve. We're getting through the breached here. Anger of the Gods. Alright. So now we have that awkward situation where... Alright, Merfolk. Alright, try to do this. So our opponent's pretty clearly a Garroyo's list. I'm going to play out the Lord here, even though it's not the best. I want to have Harbinger of Tides as an out against... Get through the Breach Emrakul or something in a later turn. I don't think that's going to be really relevant, because we're probably just dead here. If our opponents had any kind of draw. Collective Brutality, sure. It's possible they're just black-red control, too. See, this is a good example of like where Vile is reasonable, but not great in a matchup. Like, removal-heavy matchups, you generally board out Vile anyway. So, I'm sure it's possible, it's just... Understand there are going to be drawbacks where you're going to miss the card. Ooh, what the heck is this? Okay, so this is pretty clearly just straight up blue-black control. Alright. Because I initially put them on black-red Garroyos, but... Reveal Harbinger of the Tides. Tap down your black source. Pretty clearly our opponent doesn't have a fatal push here. Branchwalker. Not a bad card to hit here. Suppose I could have also played Harbinger this turn, but I don't think I'm terribly interested in flooding the board a lot. Put that on top of my library. And pass. This is one of those awkward spots where removal spell for Mirror Reedry allows them to then kill Silvergill with... That's just another Anger of Gods or Damnation. Kulagon's Command. Yuck, yuck, yuck. Which means they then get to kill Silvergill here. Yep, this is just blue-black control. Well, there's the rest of my hand. I'm presuming you have anything here, I'm just dead. Oh, good old Merfolk. Sure. Oh, Kozilek's return. Sure. I love playing a tribal synergy deck only to have, like, my opponent have, like, every removal spell known to man. Flash in this Redree, or Harbinger. I think our opponent forgot to use their Liliana here. So otherwise they'd be threatening Liliana's ultimate. Does not appear they have a removal spell. The heck is this? This avatar 5/4 demigod. Yep. So they're just straight demigod control. Let the beatdowns commence. Well, I mean, Water Weaver buys us a little bit of time. But I'm pretty sure this is a battle we're not winning this game, so. Oh, jeez. So we're just dead next turn? Alright. Alright, how do we want to board against mono removal deck? So they're not really a graveyard deck per se, so Relics makes no sense. Probably want to trim on a couple of Ether Vials and a land for the negates. It's probably the card I'm most interested in. Some consideration for Dispel, but Merfolk. Guess I'd like to be on the play. Sure, this hand's fine. I mean, we've got to play a fair game of Magic against our opponent's deck with a million sweepers. So I guess they could conceivably have something like Blood Moon against us. Take us off of our green cards. Thoughtseize. Yep. Take one of my 3 lords or my negate. I'm guessing you're taking my negate. Oh, one of my lords. Alright. Don't know if there's a particular order that matters, because they're probably all going to die. Play out Mutavault next turn, play another Lord. Maybe it's just something like Night's Whisper here. Okay. They're just playing Night's Whisper, which leads me to believe that they're planning on playing a board sweeper here. So I think I'm just going to lead attack with Lord, play out Branch Walker here, maybe bluff something like Spell Pierce. I think we can put that into the graveyard. So our opponent only has one card they're not sure of here. Oh wow. They missed a land drop. That could be... Okay, so they kill the Lord, sure. Awkward Botanical Sanctum. It's possible I should have left Water Tap Weaver on top. So, play out Master here. Hold up Negates. Can I present Lethal next turn? Four, 7, 9. Yeah, I can conceivably present Lethal next turn. So now our opponent's realizing that their choice of taking a Lord as opposed to fire up Mutavault, we're going to present Lethal. I mean, if you have multiple removal spells, you get us a little bit here. Kozilek's Return? Or... Alright. Opponent realized that Negate had them dead here. So, I'm not saying Merfolk can't beat these removal heavy decks, but as you just saw, it does require a little bit of things to break right. I don't think there's anything we've seen that changes. Like, there's still some consideration for Dispel simply because of... We saw a K command, we saw Kozilek's Return. That was likely either a K command or a Kozilek's Return they were representing there. Yeah, this hand's fine. I mean, we don't have a... They have no discard spell on one. And this is the kind of hand that, as long as we don't get blown out by something like a sweeper hitting us on a 3 or 4 for 1 here, They're just gonna Night's Whisper here. Or Victim of Night. Nope, Night's Whisper. Sure. So, play out Mutavault. Play out. I guess we're playing out Branchwalker here. So we both get another Merfolk into play. Why do I keep tapping for blue mana here? Need to tap for green mana. Thanks. See what the card is. Spreading Seas. I think we're going to put that one in the graveyard for now. It's possible we could like color screw them off of red or something, but I don't know if that's the game plan we really want to be trying to do. Boil. Well, they've got some tech for some matchups. So maybe we can hit like a Spell Pierce or something here. It's unlikely, but we do have cards we can hit that we can cast off of this. Univault's not horrible. Sure. Another Night's Whisper. I'm sitting here thinking maybe we could outcard them. Never mind. Go ahead and poke in for 2 here. Since there's a lot of our opponent's removal they just can't have here. Alright, looks like they have Terminate or something here. Another Abrade, sure. Revealing, just show them the Weaver. Another Mutavault. And pass. Okay. Yeah, that one's admittedly slightly annoying. Not one I would have thought to bring in against Merfolk. See if our opponent has something like Fatal Push. Play out Master here. Well, our opponent just seems to have it all here. Pass. Broadcasting, Mom. Parental questions, always a pleasure. Alright, so... Am I even supposed to lead on here? Guess one of our lures and hope they live? Pass. Yeah, because that's going to be an easy card to beat. Really need to hit another land here. We do not, so we have to pass. Wow. Six, seven, eight. I guess we just play a water trap elemental. Try to buy ourselves a little bit of time. Pass. Faithless looting. Alright. Just gonna get them a lot of looks at things. Discard a couple of lands. Branch Walker. Let's go ahead and fire up Reedry here. Does our opponent have yet another removal spell? Okay. Yeah, that pretty much shut off our main outs to try to win this game now, so... Play out Silvergill. Use this to tap this down. Spreading Seas. All because of this Knight of Soul's Betrayal. Yeah, I think that's enough to prompt a concession. Just too much removal, too much disruption, etc. Possible some of the attacks with the Munivolts were just too aggressive, but oh well. Couldn't really punish them for all those Night's Whispers they had. Yeah, see, it's starting to snow outside. Delightful weather. So, this is the kind of stuff that discourages me on Merfolk. I mean, Burn has reach arounds. Humans has additional disruption. Merfolk has the better lords, and Slivers is just generally a slightly faster deck. So, not a huge fan of the Merfolk deck, but I did want to give it its fair due. Yeah, we're keeping this hand. Excuse me. Wooded Foothills go. This could be Burn, this could be Valakut. Basic Forest. Why is part of me ready to get Blood Mooned here? Trinosphere. Alright, well, still feels like some version of Ponza. I know some of the Ponza decks run that in their sideboard. Yep, definitely a Ponza deck. Alright. Well, not having the best league in the world. That's 3 Unified Will and 3 Dismember. Alright. I will give him this. He does have a sideboard guide for this matchup, so. Alright. Alright, so he has. No, I didn't put in the Unified Wills. Alright, well, that's my own stupidity then. 3 negates, 3 dismembers, 4, 3 Harbinger, and 2 Ether Vial. Don't know if I like the idea of boarding out. Ether Vial in this matchup, but I suppose that he has his reasons. Alright, yeah, keep this hand. It's got our own version of Disruption. Of course you have the Bird of Paradise this game. Because why wouldn't you, right? So I'm just going to hold up Negate and Spell Pierce here. I mean, I don't think we're in great shape this particular... Depends on what you're going for here. Stone Rain. Spell Pierce, your stupid spell. Actually, I should have negated here because that would have allowed me to play a creature and still hold up mana this turn. Guess Redream makes the most sense to establish this turn. I should have negated here. Would have allowed me to hold up Spell Pierce for this turn. Chameleon Colossus. Why? Hopefully we'll hit a land here. Yeah, guess Speaker is not the worst one here. Tap down this Colossus. Opponents. So next turn, if we don't draw land, just going to attack with Colossus here. Must mean you have a follow-up, like something like Huntmaster or something, or you're just planning on pumping your Colossus, which I guess I'd be alright with. Yeah, looks like that's your only play here. Let's say about your hand, though. Land, please. And I just wasted a perfectly good opportunity here to untap my land, cast another spell this turn. So even when you're down, you need to be paying attention to particular outs you might have. Because Because I could have cast a Branch Walker this turn and possibly been presenting lethal next turn, or even held up negates for some... It's possible I should have bounced Bird for something like Inferno Titan coming down the line. And if they're just recasting Colossus here, I think we're in fairly decent shape anyway. Yeah, they don't have Inferno Titan here. Ether Vial. So they could have something like Bolt here. I don't think so, though. I think they would have bolted something. So 3, 6, 8. Can I present lethal this turn? I believe that I can. I don't think our opponent has a bolt. I think they would have already used it if they did. So I'm going to try to go for lethal here. This could obviously horribly backfire if they have exactly bolt. Alright, and they don't, so... we admittedly got a little bit lucky that game. Is there anything else that makes sense here? Harbinger of the Tides is a little bit better against the creature-heavy version, but I don't know what I would replace it with. So I think we're just going to submit. This is the one matchup where not having or having Dismember over Gut Shot might punish us. So like I said, there were frustrations getting to me, and there were a couple of sequencing misplays there with Reedry that I should have been paying attention to. Sometimes when you're grinding with a particular deck that you're either newer to or you're not too happy with, sometimes mental lapses can happen. Something you gotta guard against. I did not there. Was frustrated against after the blue-white and black-red demigod matchups, just because it's so demoralizing. Alright, let's see what we got here. Especially after turn 1, they just Trinisphere lock us and then blow up lands. It's like, welcome to Modern. So, we're gonna keep, but against a 7... Yeah, I was gonna say, against a 7... Keep 7 pawns a hand, this is... could be a problem. I don't want to fetch here, but we do need to get pressure on the board if we're going to be Ponza. So is this Blood Moon or is this Land Destruction spell? Looks like Blood Moon. Yep. Very frustrating. So we need to draw one of our 4 basic islands to get back into this game, pretty much. Tireless Tracker, yeah. Botanical Sanctum, go. Tireless Tracker, get a clue. Yep, no blocks. And concede. Alright, so I could obviously play 2 more matches with the deck. So thoughts on Merfolk. Merfolk certainly has its strong supporters. I'm not going to sit here and say don't play the deck. There are certainly players that can do well with it. Nikachu has proven that. There have been some other times where it puts up results. It's getting a lot of new cards from Rivals of Ixalan, so maybe that'll help spice up the red-green or the green-blue list. Personally, as for me and for the channel, I don't like playing decks I don't enjoy. I played Merfolk in paper, the mono blue version. I didn't enjoy it. There was a few bright spots with like double mirror Reedry and just like going off. But there are too many. To me, Merfolk suffers from too much of its clock is too slow. It's got no additional disruption from its creatures other than Curse Catcher, which for whatever reason Nikachu was deciding not to run in this blue-green build. And like, okay, in Modern you need to have a turn 4 clock consistently. You need to be able to win through disruption, and you need to be able to, on occasion, do unfair things. I don't think Merfolk checks any of those boxes. At fastest, it's a turn 4 deck. Most of its draws are like turn 5 kills, and it presents like Ether Viling in creatures backed by counterspells is fine, but you have to have Ether Vial on 1, the counterspell right for the counterspell for the situation, and you still have to have creatures to play with your Vial. And there's only certain matchups where lining those up is pretty good. So beyond that, this was the first deck that I just sit there and flat out go of the aggressive decks we've played. This is the first deck I just sit there and flat out like, I can't play this deck. Like, I don't want to play this deck. I don't want to try this deck anymore. I'm not a fan of the archetype. I'm not a fan of what it represents. Maybe if Modern was like a turn slower, I could see Merfolk being a better choice, but it struggles against removal heavy decks. It's not probably fast enough against the combo decks. It doesn't have the disruption that something like Humans has. So, like, if I were like laying this deck out next to even something like Slivers, where when I first sat down with Slivers, I was ready to just be unimpressed. Like, the list that I played, you know, I was like, well, you're not playing the Mana Left Sliver, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. But that deck was still consistently killing on turn 4. And it had like things like Diffusion Sliver that really muck up what your opponent's trying to do. Like, Kira, and the other one that makes it difficult to target. The disadvantage they have is they're a 3 casting cost. This deck's trying to cheat on mana, and it has a lot of 2 and 3 drops. Like I said, I certainly had some misplays with Reedree and attacking with Mutavault too early, possibly, and some stuff along those lines. But I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the deck, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop from this league and find something else to play for now. So I apologize to all the Merfolk fans out here. I wanted to like this deck. I wanted to give it a try, but the second time I've played it, it still leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So that's about all there is for Merfolks.